This is the Epic 2 in sub 12 177, and today we are going to test a large variety of pellets to try and find out how accurate this rifle is and which pellet it actually likes. We'll set a target out at 40 yards, and also we are going to test a variety of slugs. We have a lot of pellets and slugs to test today, and not only that, we are going to see if we can hit an exploding target out at 100 yards with a sub 12 177. How many shots it'll take? No idea, but let's get this onto the bench and see how accurate it really is. But the first thing we're going to do before we do any accuracy testing with all these pellets is we are going to test it over the chronograph and see what power this is producing with some JSB 10.34 grain pellets. So 10 shots.
700, 3, 698, 698, 691, 687, 707, 714, 691, 712, 694.
That's the power testing done. Now let's see what pellets this rifle actually likes. So we are going to start off where we left off, and that is we are going to be shooting the 40-yard group with JSB 10.34 grain pellets first. And I always consider that if you can shoot a group under the size of a 5p coin, a 5-shot group out at 40 yards in sub 12, I'd say that's an accurate rifle. So let's get this testing underway. There's a lot of pellets to get through. Let's get cracking. Okay, well that's a pretty good start. I hope they all shoot like that. Never found a rifle which does. Let's carry on. QAS, they never let me down. Always a really good pellet. They seem to work in a lot of air rifles, not pellet fussy. Sorry, not barrel fussy, but yeah, really good group there. Happy with that. Not bad so far with all the pellets. I'm wondering if that might be its worst pellet so far. A little bit inconsistent, the Daystate Kaisers. Well, it's not a fan of AccuPel pellets. No, it's not. Doesn't like them at all. Right, so that's all the pellets tested. Some good groups there. So what I will do now, I'll take a walk down there and we'll try and find out which pellet has grouped the best. I think there's quite a few actually, so it's going to be hard to choose. Well, it seems that the Epic 2 is not too pellet fussy, and it looks as if these four seem to have performed the best. They are the JSB Heavy 10.34 grain, the JSB Express Diablo 7.87 grain, the QAS Streamlined 8.48 grain, which is one of my favourite pellets, and surprisingly the RWS Superdome 8.3 grain, a relatively cheap pellet, but seems to perform pretty well out at 40 yards in this rifle. So now we're going to try some slugs out at 40 yards in a sub 12 in 177, which is always interesting. It's always just, I'm always quite curious just to try and see how accurate they are. If you want to know what scope I'm using, this is a VictOptics 40-12x40. It is quite a budget scope, but it is showing that you don't need to spend a lot of money in order to get a decent scope to actually shoot accurately. Right then, slugs loaded up. Zan 13 grain first. Let's see how we do. Wow, Zan 13 grain I think has just produced possibly the tightest group of the day, including pellets. Wow, I did not expect that. JSB knockouts. 10.03 grain. That's not a bad group actually. Pretty impressed with that. And finally we come down to the last slug of the day. This is my favourite. This is Legion, and usually in the rifles that I test, if you fire about 10 shots with this, all aiming at the same target, it actually looks like you've used a shotgun. So I fear for my camera when I put these in here, but we'll see how we do. They've done quite well so far, all the slugs and pellets, just from a 300mm barrel. So I am quite impressed. Let's see how the Legion do. Well, 2 or 3 of those slugs, I've no idea where they went. They've hit the target somewhere, I'm not quite sure where, but we'll go down there now and we'll see how these slugs have just done. Those Zan 13 grain, that was unreal. That's a really tight group for a sub 12 shooting slugs. That's interesting. Out of all these slugs that I've just shot, there's only one slug which has produced a really tight group, and that is the Zan 13 grain. That is the tightest group of the day, and that includes pellets, and that's really surprising. Now let's try these out to 100 yards. Well, this is the Firebird target that I'm going to be shooting, and I'm feeling a little bit cocky. I'm not just shooting one, I'm going to aim for 2. So that one on there, that one on there. Let's see if we can hit these off at 100 yards. Well, the first thing I need to do right now is try and get my heart rate back down, because shooting at 100 yards with a sub 12 is not exactly easy, but I did say I'm feeling cocky. Okay, so Epic 2 Lite, sub 12, and we are using Zan 13 grain slugs. We have 2 exploding targets. Let's see how many shots it takes for us to get this. And the good thing is, you get to see it in one take. That's why I like doing this style of shooting. So here we go, let's find the target. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Well, I've hit the gong, that's a good start at least. Hit the gong again. Three shots, that's the first one. Look at that. Right, come on then. That's how much confidence I have in this rifle with these slugs. Right then, let's try and get that one. And oh, I've just pinged it off. Oh, that's unlucky. Right, I'm going to go stick that back on and I'm going to shoot it. I think I may have just nicked it on the side. Well, looking at that target, I've actually hit that, it just hasn't exploded. However, I want to see a second bang. Right then, we try again. Now what's really annoying with that is, looking at that target that I clipped, I've actually hit it pretty square on. It just didn't explode. That's the only issue with sub 12 at that distance. If I was shooting pellets, it would not set the target off. Let's see how this one goes. No count now. 3, 2, 1. Hit the gong. Look at that. That's easy with a sub 12. Technically, that's 3 exploding targets I've just hit. And like I've just said, using slugs at that distance in a sub 12, it just has enough energy to set the targets off. If I was using pellets, even if it was a heavy pellet, it still would not set that target off. And I'm speaking from experience there because it just doesn't do it. But that, 100 yards, really happy with that. And the fact that this is actually a 300mm CZ barrel, and the CZ barrel for the Epic is a pellet barrel. You can get a Lothar Walther, but this one doesn't have that fitted. It's a CZ barrel, and yeah, I'm really surprised how well it shot those Zan 13 grains. So yeah, well done, you little cracker. Well, that is where we are going to end it after this pellet and slug fest. Got to say, the rifle really surprised me, particularly when it came to the slugs. The Zan 13 grain, what was all that about? That was a really tiny group. Any group under the size of a 5p coin at 40 yards, but a sub 12 is a really good group, really good barrel. And this was doing it with slugs with a pellet barrel, which was really surprising. It wasn't too fussy either with the pellets. I'm not sure which pellet was the best, but I know I've got quite a few to choose from. So that's always good when you get a barrel which isn't pellet fussy. Really enjoy shooting this, particularly with the extending stock. Really tiny rifle. Scope on top as well is really cheap. It's the only one I had lying around. Ideally I could do with something better, however it just proves the point that you don't have to spend big money. Not 100% sure how much these are. It's just one which I had lying around, and no, not sponsored at all for the scope. It was just, I'm really impressed with the price of it. It's really cheap, and the fact that I've just managed to do some precision shooting with it and get some really good results. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you like these type of videos, stay tuned. There's plenty more accuracy videos coming up. But before we get any into the accuracy testing with all these pellets, the first thing we are going to do is we are going to chronograph it and find out what... Oh my God, everything's going wrong.